Hey everybody. So we're going to do a recap video from the Sunday school lesson from yesterday. But before we get into that, I just want to say I love you guys. I'm here for you guys. If you're struggling with something or if you're just having a rough time, I just want you to know that rely on God. Use the people in your life that care about you, because I know there's people that care about you. You have friends and family and people at this church. I care about you, and Sarah Beth and Ethan and the other leaders in this church. I know it's tough to be struggling with something and almost feel alone, but it really does make a difference when you spend time with God and you spend time with other believers that care about you. So I hope you get an opportunity to do that. I hope that is your friends and family. But I just want to say that I'm here for you guys. I'm thinking of you guys, and I'm praying for you guys. So anyways, let's get into this. So we're at a point in the story of the Old Testament where the Israelites have entered the Promised Land, and now Joshua is their leader. He's not a king or anything. He's just kind of their leader. He's helping them kind of set up who's going to live where in the Promised Land and those kinds of things. So we get to this part in the story where Joshua's the leader in the Promised Land, and we see what the people do. So in Judges 2, 6 through 19, this is what it says. When Joshua dismissed the people of Israel went each into his inheritance to take possession of the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works that the Lord had done for Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died when he was 110. And they buried him in the boundaries of his inheritance at Timnath-Heres in the hill of Ephraim, north of the mountain of Gash. And all that generation also were gathered to their fathers, and there arose another generation after them who did not know the Lord or the work that he had done for Israel. The people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord and served the Baals. And they abandoned the Lord, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt. They went after other gods and among gods of peoples who were around them, and bowed down to them, and they provoked the Lord to anger. They abandoned the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashtaroth. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he gave them over to the plunderers who plundered them. And he sold them into the hand of the surrounding enemies, so that they could no longer withstand their enemies. Whenever they marched out, the hand of the Lord was against them for harm, as the Lord had warned, and as the Lord had sworn to them, and they were in terrible distress. Then the Lord raised up judges who saved them out of the hands of those who plundered them. Yet they did not listen to their judges, for they whored after other gods and bowed down to them. They soon turned aside from the way in which their fathers had walked, who had obeyed the commandments of the Lord, and they did not do so. Whenever the Lord raised up judges for them, the Lord was with the judge, and he saved them from the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For the Lord was moved with pity for their groaning, because they were afflicted and oppressed. But whenever the judge died, they turned back and were more corrupt than their fathers, going after other gods, serving them and bowing down to them. They did not drop any of their practices or their stubborn ways. This is a sad story of the Israelites. We are literally so we have Joshua's life, and then some of the elders that were with Joshua leading the Israelite people. And so it said Joshua was 110, and then a couple years after him, when some of the other ones passed away. So we have about a certain number of years that the Israelites, basically Joshua's lifetime in the Promised Land, where the Israelites followed God. And so these were the people where the majority of them saw God working in the Israelite people, like saving them from Egypt, saving them from the armies of the Egyptians, and crossing through water on dry land. They crossed another river. We read about all the things that God did for them, and so they followed God. But it took Joshua's lifetime and a couple more years of other elders for a new generation to rise up and not follow God. That's all it took. And so We don't know if it was just because, Joshua's generation didn't do a good job of leading them and showing them what God did, or they just gave into their own desires to follow other gods. But we see them forget so quickly the things that God had done for them. And so, kind of as a reminder for us, it doesn't take much. Personally, it doesn't take much to either trick ourselves or get to a point where we're not following God anymore. It's just little steps. But on the other hand of that, when we are in a good spot, when we are following God, we need to make sure that we are sharing the gospel and living that out, both with the people around us that we think are Christians and the ones that are around us that aren't. We need to always be sharing the gospel and always be living it out, because there's people in our life that may be Christians, but that are struggling with it, or struggling with life in general, and may follow after something that's not following God, just whatever their heart desires. And if we're living that out, we need to be a good example to show them that following God does bring joy and peace. And it's just being in God's will is important. And then also, we need to make sure we're witnessing to other people, because these people are just like the Israelites that were worshiping other gods, right? We will always be worshiping something, whether it's God that created everything, whether it's another God from another religion, whether it's ourselves. And that's what the Israelites were, right? They were worshiping other gods. We need to make sure that we don't forget to share God, share the things that He's doing, so we don't get to that point of the Israelites. So let me read a verse real quick in Romans. Romans 10, 14 and 15, it says, "How then will they call on Him who they have not believed? And how will they believe if none of them have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news." So, preaching the gospel is not just standing up in front of a church congregation and preaching. Preaching can be sharing God at work in your life, with your friends, with your family, with people in your class. So, that's what God's asking you to do. It's a beautiful thing. But we have to remember that we don't save people. We just have to be obedient and share what God's doing with us. And then hopefully God will work in their lives to bring them to a relationship with Him. And hopefully they'll be willing to accept that. So that's all I got for you guys. I love you guys. I hope you're encouraged a little bit. And I just hope we can just keep doing our Sunday school stuff, and hope you can make it. So I'll see you later.